Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Speaking Spurs with me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham. Had a little bit of time away. End of the season wasn't really going anywhere. All in all, the season was a success, though. Managed to get back into European football. But I'm back. It's that time of the year that everybody loves. It's transfer time. The reason why I hadn't done any videos previously about transfers is because a lot of it was just paper talk and agent talk and things like that. So what I've learned in my journey so far talking about these things um, is that there's a lot of stuff that's just put out there for agents to try and drum up interest in their players, whether they want them to go to a better club or just purely because they're not getting the game time that they feel they deserve at their current clubs. And there's been other factors this summer as well. The fact that, Spurs are sitting very good financially. So PSR, sorry, didn't really affect us, financial fair play and all that. We were in a healthy position. We'd obviously got some players off the books. And the main thing, obviously, we're going to be talking about today is Archie Gray. So just to get that one in there nice and quick, we are going to be talking about him more as a player rather than just the transfer itself, because there are a lot of people out there that you might have seen snippets of Archie Gray, especially the Chelsea game where he heavily dominated, and that was from a midfield position as well. We will talk about his positions. But in terms of actual transfers, it's all going to start heating up now because the PSA deadline is now gone, so we're in a brand new financial year in terms of transfers and things like that. We did get some players off the books, so obviously we saw Eric Dyer go out, even Perisic, and then at the end of the season we've had Tanguy Ndombele, and then Ryan Sessegnon. Unfortunately, his injuries, he just never got through him. Japhet Tanganga, homegrown player. Um, so yeah, players out the door. That meant we've been in a healthier position. So why go spend the money? Also, bringing in players before the 1st of July wouldn't have made any sense for us because you're actually signing the player and starting to pay them those wages earlier. You've also got the agent fee, the signing on fee, if there was a fee going to their club. It just didn't make any sense to do it unless there was going to be a club that was going to come in and take a player that we very much wanted. But that wasn't the case. I mean, Brentford came close with the Archie Gray thing. As far as we know, there was a medical scheduled to take place, but there were reasons that we'll go into why that all didn't happen. But yeah, so let's jump into it. We have our first official signing that we've bought. We know that we've seen Timo Werner has come back through on loan for a season. There's a lot of people that are up and down about that one, but there are reasons why that's a good thing that we can talk about in a later video. And obviously, Lucas Bergvall officially became a Spurs player and is through the door now. And then we did sign a striker. But that's definitely one for the future. So there's no need to talk about that one right now, the young Northern Irishman. So let's move into the Archie Gray stuff because that's the real reason that you're all here to watch it. So our first official signing, first money that we're spending in this transfer window, and a big fee as well. There's a bit of a mix up as to what that fee officially is, but he joins us, 18-year-old Archie Gray from Leeds United. So we'll talk about what made us want this highly talented young player. So it's believed to be around the 40 million mark or 35 million. And then Joe Roden headed the other way in a 10 million deal. So that kind of sweetens it. As far as I know, they've been put down as completely separate deals. Even though it kind of is, it's just a way of making the deal better for everyone involved, but you put them through separately because I think it came down to Archie Gray's release clause, and the reason why Brentford didn't get there is the way they wanted to structure it didn't work. So we just kind of came in and structured it in a way that made sense. And obviously Joe Roden we probably gave at a slightly cheaper price. I think we probably could have held up for 15 million. Based on his performances. There were definitely Premier League clubs in for him. I'm a little bit confused myself as to why he decided to do another season in the Championship, but Joe is the man to answer those, and I'm sure he will within his own interviews. But yeah, he's gone the other way in a 10 million deal. So Archie Gray is a very versatile young man. He can play in central midfield and right back. He signed a 6-year contract with us, taking him up to 2030. He's been given the shirt number 14, which a certain David Gilana has donned. Big shoes to fill there. He actually made his senior debut for Leeds last August. He played a key role in their push for promotion, which sadly they didn't make it across the line. He made 52 appearances across various positions. Um, his performances have caught the eye of, several top clubs. Brentford initially agreeing a deal for the player before he opted to join Tottenham. So apparently the Brentford deal collapsed for a few reasons. It was the structure of the finances and the player's conversation with Ange Postecoglou. And that's not the first time where we've seen Big Ange being a reason that a player has wanted to come to Tottenham. He sells a project really well. He's great at bringing through young players and developing them. The style of football is obviously very, very attractive because let's face it, when we all get into football, we want to attack. I don't think many people are born going, I want to be a defender. You have people that do want to be goalkeepers, and obviously they're a completely different breed. And everyone we know that's a goalkeeper is a bit nuts. And I think goalkeepers will probably admit that themselves that they are a special breed. Um, and Archie Gray did actually say in his interview that himself and his family are big Celtic fans. So Ange would have already been somebody that they were very impressed with from his time at Celtic. So we will be hoping that Gray can follow in the footsteps of his family members and make a name for himself at the highest level. So his father, Andy, grandfather, Frank, and great uncle, Eddie, were all former Leeds United players. And his younger brother, Harry, is actually in the Leeds Academy right now. Um, the family connection to the club, combined with faith shown in him by former Leeds boss Marcelo Bielsa, who allowed Gray to actually miss school to train with the first team, suggests that the young midfielder has a pedigree and potential to succeed at the top level. So, there's a lot of faith that's been put in him from a very young age, and certainly we've splashed the cash with a big fee. I understand there's some fans that have got concerns about another youngster that we're signing from the Championship. We had um, Ryan Sessegnon, who went on to have many injuries from a young age. Jack Clark, it didn't quite work for him. Um, but hey, hopefully this one's different because this is probably the most we've slapped down on a youngster. So I have a feeling they've done a lot of background research into the kind of player that he is and feel that he'll thrive. Himself, when he was talking, he seemed to say that he feels that Premier League football will really suit him as a player. Um, so, hopefully that's not just him trying to convince himself and he is the real deal. So his primary strengths, they lie in the versatility that we've spoken about. He has demonstrated his ability to excel in both central midfield and at right back. Um, his adaptability is a bit reminiscent of Trent Alexander-Arnold at Liverpool, who thrived in a similar role, starting as a midfielder in his youth days before transitioning to the fullback position, and now he plays pretty much a hybrid role. Um, Gray has excellent technical skills, and his vision for his age is sublime. If you've managed to, catch a glimpse of any of the footage from him, it allows him to dictate play from deep positions, which is really handy for us because I think that's something that we have struggled with. His passing range and ability to switch play make him a valuable asset in midfield, while his crossing ability and his attacking instincts make him a real good threat going forward from right back. He's got the ability to receive the ball in really tight areas, which is great for us in the way that we play because we like to bring the ball out from the back, sweep it out to the side. So if he's in the fullback position, that ball will be coming to him fairly quickly. But in the midfield, because we like to get on the front foot very quickly, you're going to quite often come into times when you're under pressure. Um, he has the ability to change direction really quickly. He's capable of carrying the ball, a bit like Pat Matassar is able to. And the delivery of his long balls it's immense. I've got a couple of friends that are Leeds fans that have spoken about his ability to pick out a pass from long range. He's shown for his age a real understanding of the game. He makes well-timed runs, effectively position himself to support the attack and the defense, which is really important as we're a team that, because we attack, we need to play in transitions. If we lose the ball, you need to get back quick. So for someone who excels at multiple position, his game awareness and tactical awareness are of topmost importance. And he's shown good levels of understanding on both of those fronts. So, from that point of view, look, we've got to remember he's only 18. But the fact that he's been given the number 14 tells me he's coming straight into the first team squad. Not necessarily the starting 11, but into that first team squad. We'll get a chance to see him in pre season, no doubt. It might take him a little while to get to grips with the way we play, but I'm excited about this one. So yeah, as is the case with any young player, he's still a very much a raw talent at 18 years old. He might lack a bit of the physical strength and experience to compete at the highest level immediately, similarly to Brian Hill, Jack Clark that we've spoken about before. Adapting to the demands of the Premier League and European football, it could be a challenge. We'll need to manage his development quickly, and hopefully, we've learnt our lessons from other young players that we've brought in. Um, you need to manage their minutes, manage their confidence, play them in the right scenarios, bring them on in games where we're winning. Don't expect them to come on with 10 minutes to go and help turn a game round, things like that. Um, as far as fitting in at Tottenham, the ability to play in the dual role is definitely an attractive option for Ange because in midfield he'll provide good cover and competition for places alongside Madison, Bentancur, Sarr, and possibly Oliver Skip if he sticks around. The passing range and vision could actually complement a more defensive-minded player in the squad, which allows us to control possession and dictate the tempo of games, which would be really handy. Because I feel like in midfield we've kind of been lacking that. We've not really got a midfield partnership at the moment that's just kind of gelled. And then at right back, his attacking instincts and crossing ability could make him an ideal fit for the Postecoglou system. With Emerson Royale's future seemingly looking to be elsewhere at the moment, he could provide a long-term solution in that position, offering a different dimension to the team's plan while playing a strong second fiddle role to Porro. So that versatility actually means he'll probably get more game time because he's able to play either or. And Jed Spence, obviously, we're gonna try and get out the door as well, which means there's less of an urgency to sign another right back because you already have the cover in Archie Gray. So that should give him a bit more game time. And also with that, because we tend to play with inverted fullbacks when we're in possession, it does actually mean he'll get to join the midfield anyway. So even if he's playing right back, it does mean that he's got the ability to develop his midfield game when we're in possession. So it's a massive positive there as well. Um, so this move it's an exciting opportunity for Gray to continue his development at what I believe is a world class club. To add to his good fortune, Big Ange has a reputation for nurturing young talent and implementing an attacking possession based style of football that should suit Gray's strengths. And then with the potential of departures of some of the midfielders in the squad, he might actually find himself with a chance to make an immediate impact and then establish himself as a regular in the first team, which I'm sure we all hope for. So overall, the signing of Gray should turn out to be a massive coup for us. Fingers crossed. Um, and really, looking at it, we've secured the services of one of the most promising youngsters in English football. His technical ability, vision, tenacity, it just makes him an exciting prospect. And then with the right guidance, development, he could become really crucial for us in years to come. I think we'll probably see some up and down performances in certainly the first season. But because of his age and some of the others in there, it should be a good future. You've only got to look at um, you got Gray, Bergvall. Um, that's two young stars that become the face of the club sooner rather than later, hoping for the best possible start, for both of them in the Spurs careers. We should get to see some of Lucas Bergvall certainly this summer. I think that Ange will probably try and keep both of them around. I feel because it's their first year with Spurs, we'll really want to keep them around, bed them in with the first team squad. They'll probably get some minutes with the under 21s as well. It makes sense just to get them a bit of extra game time. But if we have a little quick look at Archie Gray's stats from just last season, because the season before he was actually playing in the Premier League too. So last season for Leeds first team, he played 52 games across all competitions. 30 of those were actually at right back, 10 of those as a generic central midfielder, 6 as a defensive midfielder, and 3 as an attacking mid. He only laid on 2 assists. He didn't actually score any goals. But then looking at England under 21s, he's actually made 2 appearances for those now, and he's actually scored a goal. In terms of his goal scoring ability, it's probably because he played the predominant amount of minutes at right back, and then when he was in those central midfield positions. You know, if you look at it, only three as an attacking midfielder. Um, it's probably a case of playing in those central midfielder areas. He wasn't sort of breaking into the box or certainly taking on many chances. So in terms of goal scoring, there's not a lot that we know about him. And it's hard to take stats from when players are younger because if you actually look at youth games, development games, you tend to see a lot of players score a lot of goals. You've only got to look at people like Will Lancashire, Dane Scarlett, Harry Kane racked in loads of goals when he was younger, Troy Parrott. You know, a lot of players when they're younger score an awful lot of goals. So I don't want to take any of those stats too seriously. Um, but for me, the future's looking bright. I think he's a very, very good signing. And it's a great sign that Spurs have actually managed to get him in. I know, obviously, he said that him and his family are big Celtic fans, which means they're fans of Ange Postecoglou. But I think the fact that he's chosen Spurs when there were many more clubs looking at him, there were rumours that Liverpool were looking at him. Certainly, I don't know how much contact was made, but it just goes to show that we're officially heading in the right direction. And you know, the first season under Ange, I feel like at the beginning of the season when he was announced, bearing in mind Ange has been at, you know, he's had some decent clubs where he's been. Celtic, you very much expect to be there or thereabouts every year, winning the league. So there was no shocks there what he did in terms of cups and things like that. So I think, you know, when Ange came in, we couldn't have asked for much more than European football. You know, the downside is that we started the season so well. Those first 10 games, we were absolutely smashing it. And I think that guy kind of gave us a false idea of where we were at. All it took was a couple of suspensions and injuries, and boom, we fell off a cliff quite quickly because you know, not every player was up to scratch with the way Ange wanted to play. Bazuma never really recaptured that form that we saw. Bentancur had a horrific time with injuries. For some reason, the Celso wasn't trusted. Madison, when he came back from injury, took a pretty poor turn of form as well. Took him a while to get back into things, and I still don't think at the end of the season he was there yet. Um, I'm wondering if it's because Lo Celso was probably going to be heading out the door. That caused the reluctance of Ange to use him as much. And I do think, certainly if I was manager, Lo Celso is somebody I would have been looking at to come into games, even from the start. We did see Kulusevski in the last few games played up front. And to me, that actually makes sense because when he was at Juventus, he was actually deployed in that position to cover for Cristiano Ronaldo. Um, and interestingly, in this system, I don't think he plays effectively on the right wing. Ange likes players to get down the line and put the low balls into the box. Because low balls into the box, as we've spoken about before, cause lots of problems. So I won't go into it too much. But yeah, I actually think Kulusevski could be an option through the middle, depending on what happens with other wingers coming into the club. Um, in terms of strikers, of what we've seen so far, my understanding is that Jonathan David is very much somebody that we're looking at. So Jonathan David, for those of you that don't know, he is the Canadian striker that for some reason feels like he's been around forever, but he's only 24 years old. And I remember when his name came up again, for some reason in my head I thought he was going to be like 28, but he's just, you know, broke into teams early. He's performed very, very well, consistently scoring. I know it's Ligue 1, the French league. It's not the most difficult league in terms of competition. There's not many teams that actually stand a chance of winning it. So, but I think consistently he's managed to do it, and the fact that he's only 24 years old means at the price he could be at this summer, he might be worth a punt. It very much depends on what's going to happen with Richarlison, who is already back in. Well, he was back in training early because he was recovering from an injury, which ended up, you know, he wasn't called up for the Brazil squad. Um, so yeah, there's Richarlison seems to think he's staying. Ivan Tony will be another one that they'll look at, but that one will drag on just purely because of Brentford's stance on price. I have a feeling they will waver and drop towards the end, but depending on what he does at the Euros depends on, you know, the price they're going to continue to ask for. There are many options, but we'll talk about those at a later date. The main thing I want to talk about was Archie Gray and just kind of give you my view on him and a little bit more about, stats and information rather than just going, we signed a player, this is what we've paid, he's great. So yeah, there's a slightly bigger picture there of Archie Gray as a player. And my opinion of where he'll play, I genuinely think in this first season it will be a mixture of the two. Um, I think he might end up playing more minutes at right back just because we are shorter there. But I do understand from the sources I've spoken to that we're very much looking for him to be long term midfielder, which is great because he could partner Bergvall in the future. So look, I'll keep you up to date with more about players when I hear from them and anything that I hear that might be a bit more concrete. But as I said, there's lots of rumours floating about at the moment where there isn't anything in it. It's very different now that we've got Johan Langer instead of Paratici. I know Paratici's got involvements in uh, a consultation kind of role. But Johan Langer is very different. He likes to keep everything very quiet, so we don't end up with clubs poaching players like we've seen before when Chelsea took Willian right from under our noses, and then Luis Diaz going to Liverpool. And actually, we're becoming the poachers at the moment, as we've seen with the Archie Gray move there. And Timo Werner was one that other clubs were interested in, and we actually snatched that one. It was what Manchester United. Um, Whereas Paratici obviously was lining up about 10 players for every position, would do his research on them, then would find out which one fits the club the best, that's also the best value, and things like that. Johan Langer works in a very different way. It's very much keep it under wraps and then Powell will pull the deal. Because this Archie Gray one, a lot of clubs were looking at him. So we were always going to be linked because it helps drive up the price. Um, or make sure that the club get the release clause. Leeds have obviously come out themselves and they're not hiding the fact that they're disappointed that they're not going to get to keep him. It was a very interesting statement, which basically indicated they didn't have any choice but let him go because it looks like clauses were met and they were going to lose him regardless. So, yeah, it was a bit of a strange one from them, but I understand it. They didn't want him to go. He was one of their best players last season. But yeah, I'll keep you up to date with things as and when my research tells me where we're going with it. So thanks for sticking around. I have been Kieran from Speaking Spurs. It's great to be back, and I will speak to you soon. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.